Pennsylvania, the Keystone State. Yet could it also be the keystone to unlocking many of the unknown mysteries? In this show, we'll be discussing all of the haunts, local legends, and unknown phenomena that have happened right here in our very own backyard. I'm your host, Matt Boyer, a senior investigator in the paranormal field.
And I'm Jacob Bacassa, a junior investigator.
And this is Unearthing the Unknown. Hey guys, and we are back. Happy 2025. You're all giddy, so you must be happy it's the new year.
Well, I'm not really giddy. I'm just kind of like, yay. I
No,
don't know.
you're happy we're back.
Yeah.
And making its return is the wonderful red beanie. It's back after being gone for a few episodes.
I got my outfit back.
Yeah, you got your
technically.
entire outfit back. The drip has returned. So, guys, this is actually a very interesting time here for Unearthing the Unknown. Jake, we have pretty much told almost all of the stories of St. Vincent that deal with the paranormal. So, it is finally time, since it's a new year, we are branching out a little bit. Now,
We'll probably, for future reference, I don't think we're gonna. We never discussed it. We're not going to end the series because we're going to branch out to other.
Yeah, it's supposed to be not just for St. Vincent College,
Yeah.
but all of the mysteries, phenomena of Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you said that in the introduction.
Yeah, I think that said in the
series.
intro that we cover all of that.
Right.
But we've mainly focused here at St. Vincent because
Close to home, literally.
Yeah, literally. For WSVC. But we will definitely be branching out. Tonight we are actually sitting here in the parlor of the seminary building, mainly because it is snowing, it's like a blizzard outside, and for once, I will actually say that I was not wanting to be outside, that it is pretty cold out tonight.
And so the running joke returns.
Yeah, except it's me saying that instead of you. I mean, I'm actually agreeing with you.
I was wondering when.
Let's just see.
/ if.
I'm checking my phone.
I was wondering if we were going to bring that up as part of the ongoing joke about me being freezing in every episode.
So as we're recording this, it's 15 degrees outside. I'd rather that. I'm fine with it being cold, but that's a little too cold for me. I'd rather not have.
Hey, at least you're also wearing a suit jacket when you go out there. I'm wearing I learned.
If you think that this keeps me warm, it doesn't.
I learned through today that this hoodie that I'm wearing is very not warmth holding.
Yeah.
It just the cold goes right through.
Oh yeah, no.
Especially when it's 15 degrees.
So yeah, we're just going to hang out tonight, and we are still going to be telling a story, though we are branching out a little bit. We will be back, because Jake, I know that once weather starts to clear up, maybe late February, early March, we will be, or unless you want, I think that it would probably be better once the snow kind of clears away to tell your story.
Although I also would concede that it would be cool to have to tell my story where it is when it's snowing, because the snow.
Did it happen during the winter?
It didn't happen during the winter, but it would be a cool setting to have.
Yeah, but I think it'd be neat without the snow. But we'll decide on that later behind the scenes of this.
Yeah.
No, so we will be back because there are a few other stories that aren't as written in stone as the ones that we've told before. So we'll get to some of those later on, and we might actually do more of a investigation kind of style with them, where I might have a little bit of equipment, and we just kind of see what goes on.
So I'm just gonna be the cameraman for that, I assume.
Oh no, you'll be on camera for this, because you are finally going to be learning with 2025 on how to be a paranormal investigator. And I will start be giving away my tips to both you and our wonderful audience.
That sounds like a Hey kids, you want to learn how to hunt ghosts? Have at thee. Trust this guy.
Ghostbusters Jr. Only on the Disney Channel.
Oh Jesus God.
No, anyhow, so for tonight, Jake and I decided that we want to tell a few personal stories. And this is actually a great time.
I only have one personal story. You have many.
I have a couple. So I'm going to tell a few. Though with tonight, I'm going to start off with a very important story for me, and we're actually coming up on the anniversary of it. So that was kind of the other reason why. Now, because we're not really telling a story that involves St. Vincent, we can't be on location for any place. I've actually said that for this when we do all the editing for this video, I'm going to fade it out from us, and so I'll be putting up some old photos or footage that I have from this story that I'll be telling.
Sorry to you, audio listeners, if you're just purely audio listeners.
Well, they won't be able to see the photos, but they might be able to hear.
Well, I mean, yeah, you'll hear the
It'll be
story.
like narration that I'll be doing
It's
over.
basically a documentary at that point, technically.
Yeah, kind of.
If our documentary production class told us anything with like Ken Burns style.
Absolutely. No, but tonight's story is actually in remembrance to my mentor, Holly Cataldo. Holly was the one who first got me really into the paranormal. I have had paranormal experiences before I met her, but it was actually back in late 2018. So this would be happening, what? So about 7 years ago, yeah. I met her and she was interested with the paranormal. I was working for my town's historic site at the time, so I'm showing her some of the historic places, and she was asking me stuff that I hadn't even told her that she was like spot on. She didn't know any of the history, and she was saying it was coming from this paranormal stuff. So I got to meet her, and she invited me to come in for a paranormal team she was creating as the team historian. So,
real quick, if I'm not looking at you at all, I'm literally just gonna be like focusing on what you're saying. So I'm just gonna be like staring at. I'm gonna be staring into space.
That's
I'm also
fine.
gonna be like listening.
That's
to you.
fine, and definitely ask any questions if you have them, as you always do.
You know me.
Yeah. So anyhow, Holly recruits me as the historian to the team. Unique Paranormal 1 was her team name, and I of course agreed. We started. She started teaching me how a paranormal investigation works and doing some small things. And this story I'm actually going to be telling is of my first major investigation that I ever took part in when I was a newly junior investigator with her, and we had a few other teams.
What's the difference between major and minor, so to speak?
You mean like a senior and a junior investigator?
No, I mean like in terms of investigation. Because you said first.
Oh,
you
yeah,
said
yeah.
first major investigation.
So, no, that's actually a very good question. So, really, when I talk about, like, a minor investigation, that would be something that maybe we do within a night. So, like, if we go off, as I was kind of saying, maybe do an investigation, if we were to go to the third floor of Cary, over by the music department, where we know there's something dark back there, if we were just to do a small little setup where we just had a few pieces of equipment, nothing to...
Do it for that one night.
Yeah, do it for, like, that one night, and we don't have anything too... intricate for it, then that would kind of be like a minor. Meanwhile, like a major investigation is you have multiple teams, you're at a location for maybe 24, 48, 72 hours, something like that, and you are doing multiple, like it's not a continuous investigation, you'll be doing multiple sessions of an investigation throughout that time. It's not like you are investigating non-stop. You know, you gotta sleep and do a few other things, whether that's, you know, going to a restaurant or not. But that's kind of like the difference. So this first major investigation was one where we had about 3 teams and then a few other independent investigators were there. It was, we'll say, just a little over 48 hours because it was like 2.5 days between when we all arrived, set up the welcome dinner and everything, and then when we finally left. So really that's the story that I'm going to tell. But this one is for Holly. She passed away last year in September, and so since her passing, it's kind of been sad losing my mentor, but she's actually the reason why I wanted to create this show, is we would do Facebook Lives while in the investigations that we
That
were
would
doing.
be a great, that's a great idea, like to like actually like have a live component to it.
Oh yeah, and
So-
see, some of the different teams that I've worked with, they do the same thing. So, since we always had some kind of Facebook Live, whether it was one of the other teams doing it, whether it was Holly and I doing it, anything like that, this kind of gave me the idea of being able to continue on that legacy, even though that she and I are no longer investigating together. You know, she taught me how an investigation works. She gave me all of this knowledge, so I can now pass that on from her to other people. So I'm continuing that legacy, because she actually wanted to pretty much create a quote-unquote school teaching people in like she wanted to teach multiple people in paranormal investigation. She wanted to have like little classes with that. So
Okay.
yeah, so as we progress with this, I will be passing on my knowledge to you, to our listeners, and so that's definitely something that I know she would be very happy. And I know her daughter Shauna will definitely be seeing this. Hi, Shauna. So definitely, I know she'll be happy to hear that I'm doing that. But let's actually get into the story because we have taken way too much time with this intro.
This is just an intro. It's
Yeah.
probably like already like almost 10 minutes in.
Yeah. Well, also, guys, you got to think this is our first episode back, and if you have been checking out all the other videos on WSVC Radio, they are all pretty long because of just getting back from break. We got a lot to cover. But yeah, so let's get into the story. So it is January 2019, and today is what, the
14th.
yeah, so we're recording this on the 14th, and it'll be out tomorrow on the 15th. So this would be just about 4 or 5 days before the anniversary of the when this took place. So what had happened was Holly and I, we were planning to have a major investigation in my hometown of Kane, Pennsylvania, which is located just a little under 3 hours north of here. It is up in the middle of the National Forest. And in the town there is a beautiful Georgian revival-style mansion that was actually the second home to our founding family, the Kane family. Served as their family home up until the 1930s as like just a private home. It was then turned into a B&B, but the family still lived there, ran it as a B&B. They finally sold it out of the family in the 80s, went through a couple owners to today's current owners. Who bought it just, I want to say, after COVID or right around the COVID era is when that happened. So what happened with this was Holly and I, we got together multiple different groups, some that she had been looking at for a while. The famous investigator, Mr. Daniel Clace, who runs the Hinsdale House in Hinsdale, New York, just a little south of Buffalo. Very famous for all of its paranormal activity that is there. We had the great Mike Simpson from Ohio. We were working with SOS Paranormal here in Pennsylvania, as well as Keystone State Paranormal Society, based out of the Chambersburg, Gettysburg area. And shout out to Keystone State, guys. Miss ya. Oh. Fun guys, trust me. If you all these groups are great people to be working with. Later on, getting to work with Stephen Pam Barry, who owned the Waynesboro Ghost Exchange, which is just over by Gettysburg as well. All great people. But Dave and Jim with Keystone are the best. So we get all these people together. There's actually probably about 20 of us. And I know I'm going to have the photo here of all of us on the stairwell. So you'll see that we had a lot of people there. And the story that I'm really telling tonight, Jake, is actually taking place on night 2. So this is our second and final night that we are there. We were not expecting what happened. So there are different classifications, if you want, of energy levels of the paranormal, of activity levels. So, as Holly told me, Class A would be very heavy energy, and
Does it start high and go low, or does
goes
it go
low to
low
high. So, like, Class A is your top.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Like it's like Class A at the top, and then.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Class
So
B
you
or
would go
whatever.
from, let's say, very little energy or something up to Class A being the highest and a lot of activity and stuff like
Okay,
that.
continue.
Yeah. Kane Manor had never had an official paranormal investigation. Some people had been going there and would maybe take like a Ouija board or something, and I know I've told you this before. I don't remember if I've told our listeners. Don't use Ouija boards. Nada.
Did you say that in the Rye Tower episode?
Oh, and Sauerkraut Tower?
Sauerkraut, that is what I meant.
Yeah, I did.
I think you did.
Yeah, because they were using a Ouija board back there in the woods.
That's right.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. So yeah, then a reminder, do not use Ouija boards. They are no bueno.
What he said.
Yeah. Ouija boards usually don't do anything good when it comes to the paranormal. It is not something where you are wanting to work with.
I guess it's just like provoking or poking the bear.
It doesn't just provoke, it's more so that, just like everything, there's light and dark. And that's especially true with paranormal. I and Holly and everybody that I've worked with, we only work in love and light with spirit. We do not work with dark. At least we don't want to. If we absolutely have to, we will go and work with that. But for the most part, we want nothing to do with it. When we begin and close out an investigation, we always start by saying some kind of prayer, and we end in prayer. And we always make it clear with spirit that this is in love, this is in light, this is where we are working with, and none of this horrible dark is allowed to come through.
That's
Yeah, okay. And that's something that you will definitely see me always saying when we get into doing the actual investigations here, and whether that's a few weeks from now or anything like that, I don't know. It might be next week. So, what happens is, Ouija boards, you don't want this, but some people are taking it before. Bless you.
Excuse me, sorry.
You're good. So we don't have any of that. We are working with a number of different pieces of equipment, both electrical equipment and the old school kind of style. So dowsing rods we were using, K2 meters, which I have mine. I have it sitting, you know, I'm going to grab it real quick. Just because I brought it here and I didn't want to be, it'd be weird if I'm sitting with this on. K2 meters, this thing right
You've
here.
always had, well, not always, you've most of the time had that on, just,
I usually
just
have it,
stapled to your head.
yeah, I usually have it on me. That's one nice thing with investigators. You want to try and be as hands-free as possible, so definitely having like stuff being able to be hooked onto your belt or in your pockets. That's another reason why...
Or like one of the gut loops on your pants or
yeah,
whatever.
That's another reason why I like wearing the suit jacket when doing the paranormal stuff, is because I can have different things in my pockets, and it's very accessible, and I can carry a lot on me while keeping my hands free. So yeah, let's get back to this. So, night 2, we get back from dinner. We had dinner in downtown Kane. We get back to Kane Manor, and it's starting to get nighttime. It's getting dark and everything. And we were all just kind of hanging out, and finally rolls around, I believe it was 8 or 9 o'clock. So, it just happens that while we're recording this, it's almost 9 o'clock at night. So this is like perfect timing, because this would be right around when this starts. Mike Simpson, who was kind of serving as one of the more senior investigators under Unique Paranormal 1. He is kind of a freelance investigator, but he was joining up with the team of Unique Paranormal 1 for the night. He and Holly and I all agree it's time for us to begin. So it's my job, being the only person who knows the manor as well than anybody else there. It was my job. I went around and I put us into lockdown mode. So if you've ever seen Taps or Ghost Hunters, I think that's actually maybe two of the same.
Ghost Adventures, you mean?
Ghost Adventures is Taps, right? There's a bunch of different ghost shows between the History Channel and the Travel Channel, yeah. Ultimately, they go into what's known as lockdown. So all lights go off, doors are locked, you're inside the building. Now, we don't lock ourselves in for 24 hours or for non-stop throughout the night. I mean, we will unlock the doors at times. And that's going to come important here. We go into lockdown mode, and we also kind of start off in what's known as, it could be called a living room if you want to, but it's, the official name of the room is the library, because there's no like TV, and this is an old-fashioned mansion where you're in there. It was like a family room, but we're all in there. We start off, and not getting much activity there, so half the team breaks off and goes upstairs to this little area just off of, it's kind of like a landing, well, not even a landing area, just a little nook space, I guess, in between the main corridor hallway of the second floor and 2 or 3 bedrooms, where there's this gigantic glass mirror. Now, one thing for you and for all of our listeners to know is mirrors are a great way as a form of transportation, kind of portals for spirit. They can move in and out of mirrors and be able to move through their world, we'll say, to wherever else. They can.
You piqued my imagination when you said world like that.
I'm trying to think. For some reason, I'm blanking on the word that I'm supposed to be using, and I said
There's
world.
an official word?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what it's called. Paranormal plane, I guess, is a better way of putting it than world.
I'm gonna call it the realm. Just
Yeah.
because it's fun.
Yeah, the realm or the plane. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So half the team's up there, and I stayed with the group that was in the parlor for a little bit, the library, sitting room, whatever you want to call it. But I ultimately go up to the room with the mirror because we had a lot more activity up there the night before. We were getting animals, the spirits of the Kane family's dogs in the past there, and we were hoping to possibly get a few different family members there. Not much was really coming from it, but they just wanted to stay there a little bit longer, and I said, you know what, I'm going to head down to the command center, the nerve center, whatever you want to call it, which was located out on the front porch. It's an enclosed porch. And there we had a TV monitor that was monitoring our 4 cameras that we had set up in the house. What happens is I'm sitting there and I'm watching the 4, and we also even had a couple walkie-talkies to talk amongst ourselves. And I see we had 3 that were on the first floor. We didn't have any up on the second floor, but we had one downstairs in the basement. Now, to tell you guys, like I said, this is an old-style Georgian Rabile home. And very, very big. When it became a bed and breakfast back in the 30s, the owner of it, our town founder's grandson, Elijah, though everybody called him Sashi. There were many Elijahs and many Thomases in this family, so they all had nicknames. But Sashi owned the manor, and he built a bar in the basement downstairs where it would be open.
Man.
Well, I'm going to tell you this, Jay. Mrs. Kane would not allow it to be in her house, so she was probably rolling in her grave when her grandson decides to build a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the other 3 the one's down the bar. The other 3, one is in the main foyer. One of them is in a hallway going down towards the little office that is where you check in. It's kind of the main door going in and out of the mansion, as it is still a bed and breakfast. And the other one is over in the library living room area. And I'm watching them all, and they all have a little box on them with an R. That it was a little green box, and it had an R on it, saying, you know, it's recording. And if there was movement or something, a little red box would pop up right next to it, and have an M in it for movement. So I'm watching all of these, and there's really no thing out of the ordinary there. The one in the dining room, or not the dining room, the foyer had just gone off saying there was movement because I walked through there to get to the command center. Still a few people over in the library, so of course that one's going. No one's in the hallway headed down between the foyer and the office. I'm watching, and all of a sudden a little red box pops up on the one in the basement, saying that there was movement. Now, we did have 2 investigators down there. Dan Clace and Brittany Finch were down in the basement. However, they were on the other side of the mansion. They were in the pantry area below the kitchen. Now, the bar is underneath the library and underneath the rounded porch on the side. Just for you, since everybody will be seeing these photos, I'm going to show you a quick photo of what I mean here, so you can kind of understand that this is a decent space between the pantry and this bar, that there's no way they would have been able to make any kind of thing move down there in this bar. So they would be under the kitchen area, which is here on the far right of the mansion. The bar is all the way on the other side. Back there we can start to see the portico on the left side.
That's a really nice house.
Yes, it is.
I've never actually seen it up until this point.
No.
I've heard
I've mentioned it.
Yeah, you
yeah.
mentioned it, like myths of it.
Yeah.
Throughout my time with you, but I've never actually seen it.
And that's because this is where my first big investigation happened.
Yeah.
So, getting back to the story, I see this, and right away I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to go investigate. So, I grabbed my case, that black bag, my computer case that I'm always carrying around.
The football, you call it, or whatever?
That's a friend of mine calls it that, because he jokes saying that it's like the president's nuclear football or something, but it's like my own version. But yeah, that bag. In that I had my laptop, actually my old laptop I still have.
The one that's like that's screwed up back?
Yeah. I had that, and I had a few other different items on me, including my K2 meter. But I didn't really have many other different pieces of equipment with me. Now, why I had my computer is because there is a former piece of equipment. It actually used to be an actual box, but certain people have been able to transfigure it onto a computer, so it's now digitized and you get very better sound. Paranormal technology has gone far, and it's great because of that. And that is the Phasma box, which is one of my favorite pieces of equipment. The Phasma box allows the investigator to actually talk with spirit.
It says stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've shown it to you.
I've seen it before.
Yeah.
In my past.
You can actually... So, spirits' voices you cannot hear with the naked human ear. You have to have some kind... It's kind of like how with a dog whistle, on how you don't hear the whistle but the dog hears it.
Have we said this on camera, or have we not? If not, it's fine. I'm not sure if we're just treading ground.
Yeah. Well, nevertheless, so I have the Phasma box, and that's the main thing that I was going to be using for this. I go through the mansion, into the kitchen, and down the stairwell into the pantry. I meet up with Dan Clace and Brittany, who are down there doing a small investigation of their own. I said there was movement down the bar. I'm going to go check it out. If I need anything, I'll call for you guys. And they said that they would stick around just in case. I get down into the main area of the bar. So this bar hadn't been used for many, many years. It closed up probably back in the 80s or 90s. So there's a lot of just dust, and there's some old chairs and a few tables. A lot of the stuff that was in the mansion was sold off in the early 2000s, so there was very few things left. But I get down there, and I start setting everything up. Where I'm sitting, there's a huge fireplace that's just in front of me, and a little bit to my right next to that's the hallway that I had just come down into this bar. To my far right is the actual bar table. To my left is a doorway that leads into what used to be the outdoor entrance into the bar, and there's a little old office room that was used to hold coal at one point for the furnaces. And behind me is the rounded area of the bar, kind of more of like a social open area where you would have bar tables and high chairs for people just to sit and socialize. And that's underneath the portico side porch. There's 3 open doorways to go into that part of the bar. There's one right behind me, there's one to my right that goes behind the bar table, and then there's one to my left. Now, the owner at the time, not the current owners, the one right before the current owners, he had a bunch of wood that he kept in that rounded area because that helped for one of his furnaces. He had a wood-burning furnace at one point in there. So it has a lot of wood stacked. I'm sitting down in an old chair, and I get my computer up and running, and I'm trying to get my speaker to connect to the Phasma box so I can hear it louder than my computer's speaker system. And it won't connect. Finally, it gets going, and I start getting a number of different voices coming over the Phasma box. And it sounds like this bar is still busy when it comes to the paranormal plane, that there are spirits that are still down there. Think about that. Think about that.
That's funny. Ghosts having a little drink in the pub.
They're getting tipsy.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I am trying to see if there's one spirit in particular I could try and talk to, and that's Sashi Kane. Now, Sashi has a darker history with the family. In 1931, he was put on trial in Hampton, Virginia, for the death of his wife, Jenny. She drowned to death in the Chesapeake Bay. Now, this was a huge case, Jake. When I say that, and the photos are going to be flashing through. So to have a well-respected person in academia from a prominent American family to be put on trial, that makes big news back in the 30s. So there were reports from all over the U.S. that were trying to cover this. while I'm down there in the bar and I'm getting everything going, I feel something whisk right past, like in front of my face. I could feel the quick little bit of wind.
Ooh.
Now, I'm the only person down in this bar. If Dan or Brittany were to do something, it wouldn't come from the left side of my face to the right. It would have came like towards the front of my face going to the back because of the hallway. And like I said, they're still on the other end of this building. But what it came out of that room that no one's in, that Sashi's office for the bar used to be. And as soon as it flies by, it lands and crashes. I take a flashlight and look over, and it's a piece of glass. So something had thrown a piece of glass, and it just missed my face and crashed on the floor right next to me. I didn't think much of it at first, until no less than maybe 2 minutes at most after that happened, does one of these logs that was sitting, and these things have been sitting in that room behind me for a while, all stacked up nice and neatly. Also, one of those logs seems to come flying out of that room and lands right at the back legs of my chair. So you just, I just hear this thing hit the ground.
Thud,
It thuds and rolls and kind of it hits the back and then kind of rolls down onto the floor. As soon as that happened, I'm thinking, okay, there's something here and it's not happy. So I called Dan and Brittany to come down and join me. Brittany's standing to my left, and she's over near this little wood-burning stove that was there, while Dan is to my left as well, but he's right behind me, so he's kind of like standing just behind me. Now, Dan had a piece of equipment that I've always found interesting. It's known as the PMB, the Paranormal Music Box. Now, what it is a small little coffin-shaped music box that has a sensor in it. And when something moves or triggers that sensor, a light turns on and the music box starts to play. And as long as that thing is in front of it, triggering that sensor, that will continue to play. But as soon as whatever would trigger it would stop, like move away or something, the light turns off and the music stops.
Yeah.
So Dan pulls that out, and he has that sitting on some old tables and chairs right next to where I'm set up with my computer. We start talking with a waitress who seems to be serving the spirits there all of their drinks. And I keep trying to say, is Sashi down here? Is Sashi here? And I wasn't getting a response through Phasmabox. And it just seemed like Spirit wasn't really wanting to communicate over Phasma. So I kind of shut that down, and we started working off of Brittany with her abilities as a medium and Dan's few pieces of equipment he had. Now, I did also have my K2s. I have 2 K2 meters, and I had both of them working. So how these work, you've seen it, is if I press the button here, they turn on, and so it goes from dark green, light green,
We used them,
yellow.
I think, especially...
No, we didn't. We did
Did
that.
we?
No.
Did we not use it in the...
You and I did, but we didn't use that on camera. Down at the gristmill, that was the first one.
But didn't we also use it at Aurelius?
We did that again before the cameras were rolling.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, continue,
But
sorry.
yeah, so dark green, light green, yellow, orange, and red. Now, it is measuring what's known as milligauss, which really this helps to be able to tell us how much...
Is that what that reads? Thanks for that.
Well, I'm telling you to read it.
I have astigmatism,
I
but
know
I
you
can't.
do. I know you do. There you go.
Okay. I would never noticed
Yeah.
milligauss?
Yeah. Anyhow, what this is doing is these measure the amount of energy that a spirit is using. So this can it's kind of a detector, because if I have this is able to kind of pick up where...
I think it also detects electromagnetic stuff.
Well, that's
like
because
Yeah.
EMF, EMP,
Yeah. If I you'll see it if I hold it
Yeah.
up, I could probably make it
Exactly.
make it flash.
Yeah. Now, with Spirit, this will be able to pick up. So, if they are right on top of this thing, this will be flashing red. And the farther you are away, or the less amount of energy that they are using, or as much will decide on what level this is at. Nevertheless, I have my K2 meters, and they're sitting down on the floor. And we were getting readings from the K2 saying that somebody's there. So we start saying again, Sashi Kane, if you are here, would you be willing to, move your hand or touch this music box or anything to let us know that you are here? As soon as I said that, the light turns on and the music box starts to play its song. And then it stops real quick. And we said, okay, so he's here. And we start talking with him a little bit, just very basic questions, yes or no. That's really how you want it to be at first, and then start to get into a little bit more. But since we're not using Phasma anymore, we're not wanting them to do a lot. It's just more yes or no questions when using the PMB or some other kind of instrument like that. And so after a few minutes, I finally dropped the major question that I had been wanting to know. Now, at this moment, I did not know that much about Sashi. I just know that he was on trial for the death of his wife. I didn't know anything about the trial, and I will say right now that my opinion of him has changed. It's done a 180. He was acquitted. They say there that it was because his wife didn't know how to swim. He actually tried to save her. Certain testimony and everything showed that he was not as the state, and it was actually his in-laws through the state of Virginia that were trying to put him on, or throw him in jail, because their daughter died. So, of course it's the in-laws, which is I just kind of find funny. But still, I decided to ask the question. I said, did you or did you not kill your wife? Now, we didn't get an answer from that. And I had a feeling we probably weren't going to. And then all of a sudden the mood in that room changed. As I said, and I was talking with one of the pub safety officers earlier this evening about that third floor in Cary, how you can feel like there's something up there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think we also may have talked about it at some point. But I'm not going to go into that story, but
nevertheless, you could feel that something was wrong in this room. The mood had changed and things got very, very heavy. Right away, I apologized, and I said, I'm sorry if that has upset you. I was just trying to find out. You know that I work for the Historical Society. You know that I'm interested in the family history. I was just trying to ask a question. But, frankly, I shouldn't have asked it, and that was a dumb move on my part to ask the question. But this was, like I said, I'm in my early years of investigating, so I didn't know really everything that I should have known at that time. I was inexperienced for this. After that, I asked the question, would you like us to leave the bar? I didn't even finish saying the word bar, and that music box started going off. And I was like, okay, let's get out of here.
Leave.
So we do. And me, Dan, and Brittany, we go back upstairs onto the main floor, and by that point, everybody kind of wanted to be taking a break. So some of them are hanging out while some are still on investigation. I go into, it's now a little dining room, though back in the day it wasn't. Originally when the house was built, it was supposed to be an outside part of the back porch. It was enclosed at some point. Who knows what they used it for, whether it was a sunroom or not. But I'm sitting at the main table in the middle of the room with the great Jim Wyrick, and he had one of my favorite pieces of equipment, which is known as the SLS. Now, this is actually a neat thing, and you would like this, I think, too. It uses a kinetic camera, kind of like the old cameras that you would find on the original Xboxes and stuff. Those were kinetic cameras, if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, the Xbox Kinect or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those kinds of cameras, it would be worked through certain different motherboards or whatever you want to say, and would ultimately connect to a tablet where you would be able to see when you're looking through using this device, it would make that stick figure outline of a spirit.
That thing.
Yeah, it would pick up on different levels of heat energy and be able to draw if it's a person or if it looked like an animal or something. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're using that. And we're in this room, and it was actually kind of interesting. This is more lighthearted. So we've gone from very tense down in that bar to more of a lighthearted feel. And we were using a few other different pieces of equipment, nothing too extreme. And we found out that the spirits that we were picking up thought, now like I said, this is January, they thought it was November, they thought it was Thanksgiving, and they were all getting together for Thanksgiving dinner at the family house. And we had one spirit that was up in the air, it was kind of above one of the tables, and it was dancing.
Dancing on like a table or something.
Well, I don't know what it was, and we didn't have any music or playing, but this spirit was dancing. We thought it was funny, but
I almost feel like you said we need to do an episode. I'm sorry, I'm going to completely derail for a second
good.
because like I'm just going on a tangent
You're
in my
good.
head where it's like we need to have an episode where we have our own like not where we have our own like like a discussion on like sort of our belief because like I'm forming all sorts of thoughts in my head about all this because I've said it on this show multiple times where it's like
there's some things that's hard to
there's some things
comprehend.
Yeah, for me like it's as like the layman like I've known about this all my life. When I was younger, I was like, yeah, that makes total sense. But now I'm older, I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, and trust me, I get it because I was the same way at some point where I was thinking, I don't think this is right, or I would kind of question it, and then things came about. But getting back with the story, we did find out that Sashi was not at this party with the rest of the family. It seemed like his spirit was maybe confined down to the bar, down to the basement. After probably about 10-15 minutes of Jim and I being there in the dining room area, or it's now a dining room area, we decided to take a break. Everybody else now had kind of gathered together. Everybody was just wanting to take a little coffee break. Now, I was doing an Instagram live for a few friends that night. And,
oh god, I can imagine several ways of this playing out, but go ahead.
Well, my phone was getting kind of low on battery, and I wanted to recharge my computer so that I could keep using Phasma and everything.
Okay.
So I went up to my room. Now, I was up on the 3rd floor of this building. There used to be just one room that was open up on the 3rd floor for people. It's now a private room for one of the family members of the current owners. So no one can go there and go up. I mean, it's his living space, so you can't go there. But the rest of the 3rd floor is where the family would have lived back in the day, and it's where the owner now lives. It's like their private apartment kind of house area.
Okay.
Their personal residence. But it was where Sashi lived when he ran the mansion as a bed and breakfast. He lived up there on the 3rd floor in the owner's quarters. So I'm up there in this room, and I'm answering a few questions. I said, guys, I'm taking a break. If you have any questions about anything, ask away or anything like that. And the people who were watching, they said, do a Phasma Box session up there. See what you get. And I thought, okay, you know what, it'll charge while I'm using the computer. So I open it up, and I'm sitting there on my bed. My friend Jesse is there for this investigation with me, and he had the other bed. He's downstairs with everybody else. So I'm up there in the room, and I get two male voices coming over Phasma. And they're talking amongst themselves, where they're saying stuff like, he's trapped, he can't leave, we aren't allowing him to go, different stuff like that. One of the voices disappears, but the other one's still kind of saying stuff like that. And I'm saying, Spirit, who are you talking about? Is there a spirit that is trapped between this world and the next? Do they need help? What's going on? Is there anything that I or one of the other investigators can do? Or say, do you need a prayer set or something? And I wasn't getting much at first, but after a little bit of trying to ask that kind of stuff and listening to what they were saying, the voice comes over, and I recognized it as soon as it got louder. It was a voice that we had heard previously the night before. That was Sashi's voice, or so it confirmed the night before, when we had briefly gone him. And it said, if you do not leave here now, you'll be you'll be dragged down to the bar and killed. Yeah. Now I'm in my room that I'm staying in for this weekend, and I've just been told if I don't leave, I'm going to die. So you can tell I got the heck out of there. I packed up my bag again, just my computer case, and I went downstairs. Some of the investigators had gone back and were in another session. Some were still just kind of hanging out for a little bit. I go into the kitchen, and I'm sitting at this little card table. And I'm having a cup of coffee there, and I said, guys, I'm not going to do another Phasma session, but this is a time while I'm drinking a cup of coffee. If you want to talk about anything, ask any questions, go ahead. And I'm sitting there, and now there's this table here right next to you.
Yes.
The window that's right behind it, that's about as far as I am from, let's say I'm sitting where I'm at, if I was at the card table. Where that window is would be about as far as I am from the door that leads to the downstairs pantry, that leads down to the basement.
So, therein lies the question. Why would you go near that if you were told you would be dragged to the basement?
I sat there because there's no other place to sit in the kitchen to have a cup of coffee.
Okay.
I could have gone out and sat with everybody else, but I just decided to sit there in the kitchen.
Okay.
I don't know why. I'm sitting there, and this is where it gets weird.
As if it hasn't been weird already.
Oh, I know, right?
What a thing to say during this story.
Well, why I also stayed there was because I was picking up out of like the kind of the corner of my eye. I'm not going to say that I'm a medium or I'm anything like that, but thanks to Holly, I've kind of been able to pick up on different things more without needing equipment than I would have years ago. And I keep seeing out of like the corner of my eye what seems to be some kind of figure that's looking at me through this little doorway that goes into this little room, like where they keep all of the cookers and other like kitchen utensils, extra kitchen utensils. As if somebody's kind of watching me there. Most likely a cook or something back from when the family had it as their private home.
Crap immediately in my pants if that were the case.
And I it did confirm later on, some of the other investigators said, yeah, one of the cooks or, a kitchen maid or somebody is still back there. And
that's my worst fear.
Well,
I told you this, like just being watched
I know.
like that.
But here's the thing. That kind of stopped, and I'm still there doing the Instagram Live, talking to a couple friends. And this is where it gets weird.
Oh no, I can imagine where this is going. Go ahead.
Well, I gotta give a little bit of background.
Okay.
My Grandma Jean passed away on October 17th, 2009. It is...
So like 10 years prior.
Yeah. Little under 10 years, because this is January of 2019.
Yeah.
For the first time in almost 10 years, Jake, I heard her voice. And it was clear as crystal, but it came in as like a whisper in my ear, saying, Matt, come downstairs. Marty, Ellen, Alyssa, and all of us are waiting for you. Now, to give some back, why those names?
You were still live doing this when that happened? Did you say, or no?
I don't remember if I was still doing the live or not. I knew that I was at some point, but I don't remember if by the time that the voice came in, I think I may have ended it by that point, or I said, I'm taking a break. I think that what I did is I ended it and I said I'm taking a little break, but I'll come back in when I restart the investigation.
Here's the Occam's razor of that situation. If you had that archived, like, you would for sure have archived a video of you potentially hearing your own grandmother's voice.
That's the other thing, and that's something that you bring up is a very good thing. So, like I said, spirit you can't hear with the naked ear, but if you have like a recorder or something, spirit voices can be picked up on like a little audio recorder. And I'll show you.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. So that will be picked up, and when you like listen back through your audio recording, you might hear something that you didn't hear originally. Well, anyhow, so why my Grandma Jean's voice said Marty, Ellen, Alyssa. My cousin Alyssa passed away back in 2013. She was the one cousin on my mom's side of the family that I actually got along with in life.
Yeah, you told me this story.
My grandma Ellen and my uncle Marty had passed in 2018. So their deaths were pretty fresh still to me, and each one took their toll on me.
Now let me ask you this, was this somebody manipulating you, or do you think it was actually her?
Well, and you got right to the best thing. It was not my grandma.
It was manipulated, okay.
Yes. What had happened is I had not, and this again shows that I was not fully prepared for this investigation, is I did not close off my mind. I did not empty my mind and kind of close it off.
So they like mind read you?
Spirit was able to get inside my head, take these very important people in my life who had passed away and they used those against me.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. So my grandma, when she died back in 2009, that I was in first grade, and that was a lot for me to have lost her. So they took somebody who was very important in my life, and then also mentioned my uncle, my grandma, my cousin, and a few other people who had recently passed. They're trying to use all of these to manipulate me to going through that door. And while this was kind of going on, before the voice actually came, I almost forgot to mention this, there felt like there was a little bit of a pull, almost like trying to make me go that way. Now, it wasn't strong, it would just be kind of like, so like it's not that
it's
hard.
Like a heartbeat.
Well, not like a heartbeat.
Yeah,
I just got,
like it's like a pulse thing.
Well,
like...
no, it was more like. So like somebody's trying to.
Ooh.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It's not like my shirt was going like that. It's not like I'm watching.
Yeah, you're not watching.
It felt like it was internally, like something inside me was trying to. Well, it was like trying to pull me there. Now, whether that's spirit, pulling those memories out of my soul or my heart, who knows?
I was gonna say, like, that sounds like just like the spirit or whatever is pulling your spirit to try and get you to go.
Yeah, I don't know.
I never thought of it like that, actually.
Yeah, anyhow, when that happened, is like when my grandma said all that stuff, I was like, holy cow, this is not good. And I knew.
Holy cow is the least of it.
Yeah, I knew I was not going through that door. Something was waiting for me on the other side of that door. It couldn't come into the kitchen, but it was waiting there on the landing of the steps.
I'm gonna get you.
Yeah. So what happened was I went off and I told Holly. Because, like I said, she's been my mentor. She knows a whole lot about this and can really go into helping me. And she sees that this is not good. I got a little emotional as well because, like I said, these deaths were fresh in my life. They affected me badly. And she gave me a hug. And then she said, I am going to have to put a protection on you, pretty much. So she put holy water on me and did a few other things for protection. So when that all happened, she said, you also need to end your investigation. You're done. I said, I agree. So I'm now done. And I even put out on Instagram saying, look, due to health and security reasons, I can no longer participate in any investigations. I am done. I had some people that were sad about that, but it was best. So now we've had 2 times where I have been almost killed. The first time was being told if I don't leave, I will be killed, or dragged down to the bar and killed. The second time was that feeling, them trying to get me to go over to that door and go downstairs to the bar. After this, skipping ahead a few hours, because of what happened up there in my room, I went back up with my buddy Jesse and with 2 other investigators, and we cleared all of our stuff out of the room and we threw it into the library, and we stayed up all night talking with one of the other investigators. So we pulled an all-nighter, but we were not going to bed, and we were especially not going to bed in that room. So what happened was, while we're hanging out, there were a number of other investigators that were done with their investigations. We're all kind of hanging out. Meanwhile, the other investigators are in a room that you can stay in down on the first floor. It was Elizabeth Kane's bedroom, so the wife of the general, the mother of the town's bedroom, and it's where she passed away in 1909. So some of the investigators are in there, and they're talking with her, and General Kane's voice comes through. Now, this is another thing. He never lived in that house when he was alive. He died 13 years before the house was built. So how his spirit could be there is because his effects were there. His family was there. If you have like so many things of a person who
there seems like a really clear emotional connection to spirit.
Yeah, and they have still connections to things that are here. If that is, let's say something special to them, that can still bring them someplace. So because the general's family lived there and everything, his spirit could go there, and his effects were there. So, these investigators, they're in Elizabeth's room, and they're talking with Mrs. Kane and the general. And they are just talking about different things, and out of nowhere, the general's voice, and because I've been with our historical society for a number of years, I like to think he got to know me, and we've talked with him through earlier minor investigations. But out of nowhere, he says, "How's Matt doing?" And apparently, from what I was told by one of the investigators that was in that room for this, they all kind of looked at each other with wide eyes like, dang. They were surprised that was asked.
Yeah.
And they said, well, he's pretty shook up, and he got a little emotional because of certain spirits using very touchy things with him, trying to manipulate it against him. But he seems to be doing okay now. We've stopped him from doing any more investigations. Thomas, his voice comes back over again and says, "Don't worry. We're looking after him. We're protecting him." Elizabeth comes and chimes in and says, "But don't let him go downstairs or he will die." Third time, folks. That is the third and final warning of that night. That I was supposed to...
Three's a company, after all.
Absolutely. Third time's the charm.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
You're welcome. So that weekend, I was supposed to leave that mansion in a body bag, pretty much, as if these certain spirits would have had their way. Now, I will skip forward, I will spoiler alert. We did have another investigation in May of that year, and I had learned a lot more about Sashi Kane by that point. My feelings and views of him had changed. I went down there and sincerely apologized, and I said, you know what, I didn't know what I was talking about then. I know this was a very touchy subject. I apologize for that, and I like to think that he and I are on good terms now. I like to think. He hasn't told me since.
Have you been back since?
I have been back down there. I went down there with a few investigators, and I've been down there during the daytime when the lights are on, with different people, usually the owners if they're giving a tour. And I always make sure to kind of say hi to Sashi and say, you know, I'm here. I hope everything's okay. Kind of being nice. So that's really what was all going on there. Now, I did say earlier, and I almost did forget to mention this, with the lockdown, you're not locked in all the time. At one point the night before, this is just a neat thing to mention. We did break for coffee, and one of the investigators had like a bunch of donuts and snacks and stuff in their car. So me and my buddy Jesse, we went outside. So this would have been Friday night, so night one. We go walking out to her car to grab all this stuff. And I said to him, I think there might be somebody in the backyard. It looked like somebody was in the backyard when we were walking out there. And he said, I didn't say anything. I said, you know, maybe it was just like some snow that came off one of the trees or something. But it just seemed to me like I'd seen like a silhouette of somebody back there. On our way back, I said, hey, Jess, take a look out there into the backyard. Tell me what you see. Do you see footprints in the snow there? Now, to tell you guys, we had weather just like this. It was blizzard weather, to where it's snowing a lot and everything. It was fresh snow. And he looked out there and he said, holy crap, you're right. There are a bunch of footsteps. So we called all the other investigators. And we all threw our boots and shoes on and we went out there. And we found there were all these footsteps. And we're
tracing... Please tell me they had boots, or like they were like shoe footprints and not like...
Yeah, it was like a shoe footprint,
oh, okay.
yeah. But what was weird is we finally found where they started, and they started over by that portico porch.
Dude, you just made me teary-eyed. Holy shit!
Now here's the neat thing.
Oh.
They started over there by the porch, as if somebody just fell from the heavens, landed on the ground, ran around the backyard in no like actual order. It was just like all over the place in some weird pattern, and then ran back there towards the portico porch and jumped back up into thin air. Jesus. We never found out what those footsteps were. But it's just a neat thing. I had to bring that up with that.
Dude, that was the first time I think you've legitimately made my eyes water. Like, holy, because like, it I think that hit very close to home because my story that I'm going to tell you guys, I'll spoil I guess a little bit now, is technically a double feature. It'll feature a very short explanation of like what we were looking for, me and a group of buddies who were involved in the story. What we were originally looking for, and then what actually happened, which will be the bulk of the episode. That gave me like PTSD flashbacks to like that night.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I mean, it's a very weird thing with what I captured there. What looked like somebody running just around being weird and like I said, no right
particular
path.
reason or
it was just like
reason.
all kinds of weird, swoosh back and forth, whatever. But
I'm super uncomfortable now. I'm sorry.
you're not going to be able to sleep tonight.
I'm probably gonna calm down because I'm gonna hang out with
some friends.
With some friends later. But right now I'm really tense right now.
You are. However, so luckily the other reason why the one investigator stayed up with me and Jesse's, she wanted to make sure that nothing did happen to us.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few things throughout the night that we thought may have been paranormal activity. Like, for instance, at one point some of the blinds started to move and like the little pull strings started to move and whack up against the wall.
Yeah.
And we thought that was paranormal. It wasn't. It was the vent for the heater. There was another time where we thought that somebody was opening and closing the door. It wasn't. It was actually the owner coming in to make breakfast, like to get everything going for brunch. So nothing did happen throughout the night. I am alive. I have gone back there and done. We did the investigation in May. We haven't done one since, and since Holly passed, I doubt there will ever be a Kane 3, the major investigation of Kane Manor. The one in May was interesting, but that's for a different time.
Unless I've been co-hosting with a ghost this entire time, which would be incredibly ironic for this show.
You gonna try and like poke me or put your hand through me or something to see like if it goes through and
No, because I've been around you. No, because we all know this is real. So
yeah.
Fair, I don't need to.
Yeah. No. So what will happen is we'll tell some of those other stories later, but investigation did end off well. Everybody was able to get home. There was a lot of snow that night, so we actually had some that got stuck.
Yeah, I just looked at the snow outside.
We had some investigators that got stuck in Kane for a day later than what they were supposed to because they got snowed in.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really the story of my first. Not night one. Night one, there were some interesting things, but not as much as night two.
You want to get to the juicy stuff.
Yeah, you want to get to the juicy stuff. So, first major investigation where I was supposed to be killed 3 times. Crazy.
That's life.
Absolutely. But that is really...
never mind.
I'm not singing the song.
Well, no, I was just saying, like, I'm just saying, that's life, and it's like, yeah, absolutely is, and I was like, alright, you agreed with me. I thought you were going to say, like, no, it's not life, it's death.
Well, it's life and death. We all die at some point. So, no,
puns.
Absolutely.
We got lots of them, folks.
Between this and Bearcat Buzz, God, is it just a lot of stupid puns. But that's really all I have to tell for this story of working with the paranormal. I know we'll have yours coming up in the future. We will definitely start to get into more of actually using the equipment, so definitely doing like a Phasm box session. Maybe we'll go back to...
You know what? It's funny. I could actually do a I could do a where we go to...
We are not recreating it.
When we go on location, I could... Well, I was going to say I could do a recreation of what I saw. Like, what this thing looked like as I saw it that night.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Which would be interesting, actually, because I'm
And definitely we will start to have equipment with us, so I will have the K2s, I'll have Phasma, I might try and get a few other pieces of equipment in the meantime for us to use as well. And kind of do a few, maybe we'll do like a Phasma box session over by Sauerkraut Tower, because of all that dark stuff that I was telling you about in the woods or something. I know you didn't like Sauerkraut Tower. You were uneasy that night.
I don't really want to, because like, if it's that dark, it's like...
But... We also, I will just mention, because we are now good enough episodes in, we've just been talking about the paranormal. Folks, since with it being the new year and everything, we've finished all the St. Vincent ghost stories, we will be branching out. It's not just going to be ghost stories. We will be talking about local legends like the Pennsylvania Thunderbird, Sasquatch.
Technically, mine as well isn't really paranormal. It you could consider it a creature, I guess it's a little spoiler, it's like a creature feature where like...
Cribs.
Cryptid, thank you.
Cryptid, or not cribs, cryptid, yeah. But definitely talk about like Bigfoot.
Is it gonna be like a Tales of the Crypts episode or whatever?
Who knows? It could be. Tales from the Crypt.
That's my tale from the crypt for you.
Now here's the question: who would be the what is it called? Like the Crypt Master,
the Crypt Keeper.
The Crypt Keeper, yeah.
I guess me, because he's the storyteller, isn't he? Technically.
Kind of, I think. I don't know. been forever since I watched. But no, so we will tell stories of like the Pennsylvania Thunderbird, the Sasquatches, Bigfoots. That's all stuff up my way. We will probably, once it gets nicer weather, take a little trip down to Kecksburg, which could or could not, we don't know, have connections to Father Paul Keck. Kecksburg.
I was jokingly gonna say to you that
when you said
the wife of Saatchi was named Jenny. I was gonna go like, there's the red thread again because Jenny from Benny. I was gonna make a joke, but I was like, would that be too? I don't want to like upset the guy or anything, or like make fun of the guy or anything.
Bad. No, but we will go to Kecksburg, it's not too far away from here, and talk about how it is Pennsylvania's Roswell, with the famous UFO landing there in Kecksburg. So we'll do that, we'll do a few other neat things, and definitely start, I've told the majority of the stories, I want you to start telling a few stories, so definitely you guys start doing your research.
Do my research, okay.
Yeah. But with that,
I know of one story
we'll get to it later.
It's a weird cryptid story.
Yeah, this has already been a long enough of a story and long enough of a show. I think we've been here for a while.
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah. So with that, guys, I'm happy that you could finally hear my first story of a major investigation.
Welcome to 2025 as well.
Exactly. Stick with us as we kind of expand out with all the mysteries and phenomena of Pennsylvania as we continue to unearth the unknown. We'll see you guys next week. Hey there, listeners. I'm Matt Boyer, station manager of WSVC Radio. If you like what you're listening to, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button to be notified with all of our updates. Every day, one of our shows will be releasing a new episode. Stick around and tune in.